So I want to talk a little bit about the idea of the canary in the coal mine, and um, I need to do that because that's been my experience. I don't think it's an archetype, but I think it should be. um, I've identified most of my life as more of the sort of the joker or jester archetype because I have a low bullshit threshold and will use whatever means I can, or I can access or have at my disposal to try to ferret out the bullshit if I sense it in myself and in a conversation and in a situation. And um, the the thing I'm the most grateful for is that I apply that to myself. It takes longer than it takes to apply it to other things, still even being aware of it, because that's just the way our brains work, is that the closer that you are to a thing, the more blind you are, the more your blind spots are. Um, I think the more control your blind spots have, like the more personal and important and crucial is the information, and so that's more protective measures that are in place or something like that. I'm still kind of trying to figure that out. But I know I know it to be a truth. I know it experientially, and I know it anecdotally, and I've of course heard just countless people say the same thing. And I know that there's an explanation, but anyway, that's not the point. I don't have to explain it on those terms because that's really what this whole video making thing is about, is that I'm a regular human trying to make sense out of a chaotic and uncertain world. And I'm sharing my experience of it and my thoughts regarding it because that's how I've grown, is by learning from the insights of other people, learning, from their offering of what they've learned, or, through doing, through failure, through, education, which is, of course, perfectly valid. Some of us learn by fucking it up, which tends to be my way. But then because we are the way that we are, I don't want that for my children. Isn't that funny? Even though I am grateful for not only all my mistakes, which weren't really mistakes, but all of my missteps too. I'm grateful to my parents for their missteps because I wish that they hadn't felt that they needed to die in shame, because I'm sure that they were both ashamed of themselves when they killed themselves. I wish that they hadn't had to die in shame. And I don't think it has to be that way when it comes to suicide. I think that suicide is a collective failure. It's a relationship failure. When somebody commits suicide, it's because they no longer see a point or a reason to live. And so I think we could learn a lot from, I've learned a ton from, I guess they were the canary in my coal mine. Canaries in my coal mine, because I'm so absolutely resolute that I'm not going out that way, I'm not leaving that legacy, I'm not increasing that legacy. So this is the thing about the canary in the coal mine, is that usually the canary in the coal mine, the way it became a thing is because the canary died. And, I'm stubbornly determined to not die. And I'm 50, and I've just discovered the amazing, the beauty of everything, symmetry in the world and human beings. And, I was living in a shroud for 48 years, and the thought that I could come out of that shroud and, but this is the thing. I gotta tell you, because I'm trying really hard to be honest, that there's damage that we can do to ourselves, that we are doing to ourselves, to our nervous systems, to our bodies, to our physiology, to our psychology, to our relationships, to our infrastructure, our personal infrastructure, our collective infrastructure. There's damage that we can do out of, our ignorance and our fear and our lack of connection, and also our arrogance, our hubris. I'm very guilty of that. Every single day I notice something that I was, telling myself was not quite right or completely wrong, or completely self-serving. And, you know, I chuckle now. And not only do I chuckle, but I think to myself, I chuckled. For a while, I just chuckled. Then I started chuckling and thinking, wait a minute, I know what this is. This is something that needs to be shared. Now, when I had that moment the first time, that was a hallelujah moment. I'm just going to be honest with you, because that was the moment that I was absolutely sure. I think that was the moment when I started making these videos, because I trusted my motivation. And to be honest, I didn't before that, because my motivation was blindly driven for so long and destructive in its effect, because that's what happens. And that's the big thing, is that if we could just figure this out, that this is true. This is not something we can negotiate with. We can't change this, or we can't negotiate with nature. Nature doesn't negotiate. Nature says it's this way, period, because this is what supports life. Hello. And anything shy of that can't be allowed to stay, because we got to keep this thing going. I got to keep this thing moving. And you know, nature's not going to change its procedures because the humans have their feelings hurt. It's not going to happen. Nature's going to keep on being nature, and the physical body's going to keep breaking down. And when we overtax it, when we overtax our systems, they're going to fail sooner and more spectacularly. And it all makes perfect sense. It's just that when we were robbed of our ability to see ourselves clearly because of the need to control of other people, it's not people. People don't do these things. It's when people come together and become something of an organization. And I've resisted organizations my whole life, groups, clubs, organizations, and I never knew why. I just thought it was because I was contrary. But I believe that what it really is that my daimon, my soul, my universal self, however you come to know it, knew on some level of that, or on every level, that part of me knew. That part of me recognized this truth about those things no longer being human. And the reason that that's important is because as a human being, if you more or less follow the guidance of your internal hardwiring, you will, like, if you don't do things you know are wrong, and but the problem is, this is the problem, that there's also a lot of bullshit in there, because it's like this. You know, I was talking about juxtaposition. When I started to feel like I had a shot at a life of meaning was when I started doing things that I didn't necessarily want to do, and then increasingly did things that I really didn't want to do. And I started doing things longer than I wanted to do them, and harder, and intentionally. It's like, okay, so this is the best way I can think of to describe it. And this is part of what keeps me awake at night and drives me really relentlessly, because there are things that I've figured out about myself that I would not have figured out if I hadn't had to. That's all there is to it. If I had been able to wobble and think even for a second, oh, fuck it, you know, I just don't think there are some things I don't think that I would have, some conclusions I don't think I would have reached, because the more skin you have in the game, the more it means to you, then the more seriously you take it. And, these things just sort of follow. The more seriously you take it, the more mental real estate you invest in it and devote to it. And, like I've said before, mental real estate is expensive. And look, that's muddy. Come on, Shelby, let's not go muddy. Like this walking and talking thing. This is kind of strange, really, on the surface of it. But the thing is that it works. And my whole thing for my whole life has been solutions. I'm not a problem person. I'm a solution person. If there's a problem, I know there's a solution. That's it. That's all there is to it. And I just keep pushing until I find it. I keep growing or learning or asking or whatever. Ultimately, I don't care about what happens along the way, because there's a solution that needs to be found. And that's the way I feel about the downfall of man, which is what we're facing, which is what we're doing, which is what we're creating, which is, what we're building here is another toppled civilization. That's what we're in the middle of right now. We're far beyond the middle, but let me see if I can get around this. Let's go around it, Missy. Fallen logs. I love fallen logs. Hang on a second. Hang on. Don't you love that? It's going to turn into it is a nursing stump. Whoa. So, we'll watch Shelby for a little while. She's a lot more interesting than I am. So, I like being in the woods because, for the most part, and now she's going to poop, so we'll give her some privacy. For the most part, it's just nature, and what I should do is come down here without the dog and just sit, because I'm trying to take a piece of logic and carry it, and carry it like an egg, and carry it through all my various filters and perceptions and ideologies and anything I can throw at it, and just see if it makes sense still, because this is how I find solutions. And what I'm coming to think is that I'm not, well, of course, this is hubris again. How would I think that I could solve this problem inside my own head? I can't, and I know I can't. I really know I can't. But the thing is that I have to try. And so I've also tried reaching out many, many times. But there aren't a whole lot of people who want to have this conversation. And there aren't a whole lot of people who can have this conversation, because they become triggered by something, and then they're no longer thinking global, in the big picture with me anymore. They're thinking about, and they're talking about something somebody did to them, or some situation or whatever. And I understand that, and I care, and I'm sympathetic. But if we keep thinking about those things and just talking about those things, we're not going to solve these bigger things. And the whole point of me reducing the chaos in my own life and in my own head was because I knew that was the only shot I had at figuring out what I could do, if I could do anything, which I have to believe I can, what I could do to best affect whatever change I'm capable of affecting. I don't know what that is. I just know I'm not going to find it by being a hot mess. And so I've been really resolutely clearing up the confusion in my own life and in my own head, because it's the only way I can think that I might no, it's not that. It's that I know that that's the way that I will find my place in this greater conundrum. And then when I put myself into that spot and start turning as I'm meant to, then at least that one part of the machine will function properly. And I don't mind being part of a machine. I just don't want to be part of a machine where I'm working diligently at the wrong task or being undermined to the point that everything that I do turns back on me or hurts somebody. That's another thing about being an American, is that I very often feel like I carry around this debt, this huge, heavy load of responsibility for all these things that I would never have chosen to do. And so that's all well and good to say that, but then when you become aware, you have to say, okay, well, no more then. I'm not going to be party to that anymore. And if you take that seriously, it can make you crazy. If you take responsibility for something that you can't change, you'll go crazy and spinning your wheels. You'll just spin yourself into a frenzy. And, I'm not going to name any names, but I'm sure there's somebody popping into your, there's a mental image in your head right now of somebody that's done that or whatever. And the point is just that, remember, solutions. I'm a solution person, and I'm brutally pragmatic. I'm going to figure out, I did not let my dog kill me, okay. I'm going to figure out what I'm supposed to be doing with everything I have, where I am, to make the world a better place. That's all. I'm not going to let anything stop me from doing that, because that's on my soul. That is my soul. That's what I'm here for. I'm not going to do anything else less than that. So every day I work on this question, work towards the answer, unanswer, something. And I fill my role pretty much on in every other way that it's possible to. I think that I'm starting to feel a little bit of community, a little bit of a community building around conversations online that I've had about different videos, that I've commented on, or comments from people that have watched my videos, which I appreciate more than they could possibly know. Because I don't want to be an echo chamber inside my own head. Because not only is that crazy making, but it's a waste of time and actually it's counterproductive. Hi. And so I'm not going to be doing that. We're still pretty much locked in place because of COVID. And so it's not like I'm running around meeting new people. When I do, though, I have to say that the world is a much different place in real, in person, basically. I remember this old commercial. Some people probably have never seen it, have no idea what I'm talking about, but is it live or is it Memorex? Anyway, if you remember that commercial. I think that that it's really strange. Here's that juxtaposition thing again. It's like the world that we experience when we're out in the world. Like, I go out in the world and everybody seems friendly. Doesn't matter the color of their skin. And if they're not, it seems almost obvious. Why not? Like, you can just tell, oh man, you're having a hard day. Like, you can just tell. It's written all over them, because you can see them. And you can see all of the signs that add up to having a bad day. Like, okay, last night, I went to the dollar store. It was right before closing. I like to go right before closing. I'll just tell you honestly, it's because I'm a piddly farter and I don't like to waste time. So I go in the last half an hour, so I get in and get out. I'm still learning self-discipline. I will learn that. I will make it so I can go at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and stay half an hour. I'm just not there yet, but I'll get there. So in the meantime, this is what I do. I have a million of these because I'm not fucking around here. So I'm not fucking around here. So I go to the dollar store. And the first thing I notice, even though it's 20 minutes to 9, is that my little friend, who usually is right around the door at 20 minutes till, because retail, hello, I want to get the hell out of there. And so he's usually hovering around the door so that he can let you know. But when he sees me, he winks at me and says, you know the drill, because we've talked before about how I'm a minute and I'll be quick. I swear, I'll be up there. You won't have to call for me twice, that kind of thing. They call over the intercom. When I hear them call and they say, could you please bring your purchases? I bring my purchases. Unless they're being crazy ridiculous and it's like 15 minutes till. Usually if you do it at 10 minutes till, I'll come up. So anyway, he wasn't there. I saw him. He was racing around putting stuff back. And I saw him and I know he saw me. And usually he'll say, how you doing, beautiful? Just something happy, pleasant, And I'll say, whatever I say back. And I'll say, well, I'm doing fabulous. How are you? Or, give him a compliment or something. He's got an amazing smile, So, nothing. He just, went barreling by. I'm thinking, okay. I'm hoping he's got plans after work, right? He wants to get out of there and go on to what he's going to do next. I don't know him, well enough to know that. And so that's what I'm just kind of guessing. No big deal. Then I go up and pay, talking to my friend at the cash register, who I also adore. Her name's Tennessee. She's amazing. We're talking about her dog and whatnot. And so then she she doesn't usually check, so she's going kind of slower than usually happens at that time of night. Usually it's the manager out there ringing people out, and it's bing, 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 bing. So I'm kind of feeling anxious because there's somebody behind, and I'm thinking, I know they want to get out of there. And now he's standing by the door. And I turn away from the cash register, and I go walking towards him, and it wasn't quite 9 o'clock yet, but I was going to kind of jokingly say something about, see, I'm out, or something, I can't make it up on the spot because it's a moment thing. It's like, I don't know what would have come out. This is what he'd have said something or not, and then I'd have said something or not, how it goes. But I was kind of looking at him. I do this a lot. Look towards people so that if they want to make eye contact and say something, then we can. And if they don't, then I don't. So he didn't look at me at all. He goes, opens the door to let me out. So it's like 9 o'clock. He's on the door. And I said something about Tennessee. Joking, kind of trying to, to cheer him up or something. And, I said, something about that Tennessee's always talking or something, because she's not like that at all. She's like their security, she kicks people out for shoplifting and stuff. She's a tough little Benny Rooster. I love her. But nothing, I get nothing. I said something about, I said, that Tennessee, she's bad influence, always talking my ear off, something like that. And I didn't get, he didn't, let me out. I said, have a good night. He said, you too. And, usually it's like, well, Tennessee, if she's not on the cash register, she'll offer to take people's bags out to their car. I have to beat her off with a stick if I only have 2 bags. No, I got this. But, he's usually leaning out the door, say, have a good night. And he's like, you too beautiful, or whatever he says. He's one of those people, he's just, I'm sure he calls everybody that, or, not guys, but, it's just how he is. Like, I call people love, nothing. So I was kind of puzzling over it and, hoping that he's okay. And, and so then I'm thinking about it, and I'm putting my mental energy into hoping that it works itself out, and hoping that he will be okay, and wishing the best for him, And the reason I tell you this is because if you live your life online, it's a completely different dynamic. Everything is so different. And I had this thought earlier. I was thinking, what online is? Because I feel like a split personality. I don't know how to be myself on the internet, because I feel like I have to be 2 different people. Well, I have to be somebody other than who I am, because in real life I'm just a big dork, and I just love people, and I crack people up, and I I've never had I don't have enemies. Everybody's my friend, I don't know a stranger. Shelby. And I'd do anything I could for you. And I believe what you say, and I'll trust you unless I absolutely can't. And I can be somewhat naive, and only get burned so bad, because I'm actually more than somewhat naive a lot of the time, because I really truly do believe that people are as good as they pretend that they are or whatever. And I really do believe that, though. I believe that when we act any other way, it's because we have relinquished our human card. And so I make these videos because this whole canary in the coal mine thing is, I'm just trying to explain what this way of being is doing to me, because I think it's doing it to a lot of us. And I don't know how to say it succinctly, and I wish that I could make videos, with pithy images and impactful music, because music saves my life on the daily, and pictures speak 1,000 words, and I don't have those technical abilities. I don't know if I ever would have, but I definitely haven't since having a head injury. I just can't. My mind doesn't work that way anymore. And so I, make things, actual physical things, with paper and pens and stuff, Eventually I'll figure out a way to, fuck it, I'm just going to scan this shit. I know that's ridiculous, but I don't care. Like I said, solutions, That's why Abraham Lincoln became a lawyer, was because he was intent upon solving some problems that he had to become a lawyer in order to solve. And so I'll keep at it. And my neighbor put a box of toys out, and now I'm going to have to look through it, because that's what I make my art out of. I'm not sure if I've already told you that, but, and there are canvases. Oh, hell yeah. See, this is yeah. My kids will be like, Mom, that's why I don't walk with my kids. Canvases, man. Look at that shit. See that? Wow. Okay, so this would be a really good time for me to explain something. And that is that my art, I hope you're not looking at my nose, I'm sorry. Hang on.